Professional football in America is a special game. A unique game. Played nowhere else on earth. It is a rare game. The men who play it make it so. Make it so. Make it so. Make it so.
WestOne Radio!
It's time! It's time from the Dago Dungeon. That's right, Murph bringing it 110%. Woo!
Why should we even be interested in what you have to say?
Shut up, Sonny. How many times am I going to yell at you this segment?
You run a thin league and you're all bad.
It's not Sunday no more, you can try.
And I'm not your bro. I'm not. Don't ever call me your bro. I'm never gonna be bros. I'm not your bro.
What did you do, stupid? You didn't push the right button.
I see this guy on Facebook tripping with K-Matt, tripping with West. They're talking, they're joking. Okay, he's not a bad guy. Come on!
Welcome to the show, Alan, Execution 99.
I'm not fat. I'm big bone.
What's that, he's fat?
What's up, Alan? You rocked me. That was embarrassing. I was texting Josh the whole time. What, was he going to give you pointers?
Hey, baby! We're going to be here all day, baby! I like this kind of party!
Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to a fabulous, soon-to-be fabulous episode of WestOne Radio. It's kind of like putting on an old pair of shoes. We haven't done this for a while, and it's nice to get back into it. My name is Murph, the Raider Gamer. I'll be your host for the evening. Appreciate you joining us. You can hit me up on Twitter at the Raider Gamer. You can hit us up on Twitter at WestOne Radio. You can find me on Facebook, the Raider Gamer. On Twitch, just Raider Gamer. Can't fly this ship alone, and so I welcome in my co-host for the evening from his newly appointed digs in South San Jose. That's right. No more backyard, dad yelling at you, hiding bushes, mariachi music blaring from next door. All that stuff has been eliminated because Auden, Execution 99, has now found his own place and is now in the Dago Studios West. Of course, he's not a Dago, but whatever, you know what I mean.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
He's got a mean beard going.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Oh, Auden, we can't hear you. Alan, you are muted, sir. We can't hear you. Okay, well, Alan gets as well. I'm sure he was saying something really cool. Alan, when you think you're ready to jump in, just go ahead and just start shouting. Let me see. Let me make sure you're not muted. Let's see. Here we go. This is some riveting radio now. Okay, let's see. You're muted. Now you are unmuted. Whoops. Oh my goodness. We are train wrecking here. Yeah, you're muted, buddy. Yeah, we can't. Alan, why don't you drop out and we'll get you. And we'll get you. Oh, now you're unmuted. Now we can't hear you. All right. Well, as Alan gets everything figured out, we had this working. Believe it or not, we had this everything up and running and working about 5 minutes ago, and now we are missing Auden, Execution 99. You know, the last time we did this. Oh, there you are. Now we got you.
You can hear me.
Yep. Now we can hear you.
There we go.
All right.
So as I was saying, maybe the mic didn't think what I had to say was all that great. Who knows? But someone's got to keep the beard game going since Andrew Luck disappointed us all by getting rid of his this off season. What's that all about?
That might have been the most disappointing development in this offseason, Auden. The fact that so much has changed, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say the last time we did an episode of WestOne Radio, Tom Brady had not yet gotten his fourth Super Bowl ring. Chip Kelly was only half nuts. People still liked Roman Reigns, and Andrew Luck still had that booger catcher. Now, God forbid, he's going to have to get a Kleenex.
Now I got the booger catcher, and I'm sure there's some in here too, since I was at the Sharks game today, and they got handled 6-2, and I believe that officially eliminates them from the playoffs, so there's probably some snot boogers filling up in here somewhere.
Well, I can see the nacho cheese from here as well.
Well, there was definitely some nacho cheese at the game. You know how it is when we go to hockey games. You've been there, although at least I know how to put the nachos down for the national anthem.
Best ever. Our buddy of ours named Jimmy, we had just tried the barbecued pork nachos at the Nashville Predators hockey game. Was when they first came out with them. So each of us got our barbecue pork nachos and got to our seats just as the national anthem was playing. All of us, aside from Jimmy, found enough time to set down our nachos, remove our hats, and put them over our heart and pay homage to our great nation. In the meantime, Jimmy accomplished all of those things except for putting down his nachos, which he cradled in his left hand. And when you're cradling barbecue pork nachos in your left hand as you're standing there, and they're only this far from your face, it's awfully tough to resist taking a nibble. And sure enough, as the national anthem is blaring throughout Bridgestone Arena, Jimmy is doing this. Come on, Jimmy, pay some respects. Put down the barbecue pork nachos for the national anthem.
2 minutes, that's all we ask. 2 minutes.
2 friggin' minutes, and the guy can't let it go. All right, Auden, I mentioned it briefly about Chip Kelly being only half nuts, because now he's full banana, along with some other general managers in this league. Alan, Jimmy Grant, I mean, listen, you could watch all kinds of sports talk shows to hear the discussion about free agency, but I'd like to talk about it in Madden terms. Has this been, or is this an unprecedented free agent exchange and trades? Have we just gone through a week or week and a half now, however long it's been, on an unprecedented amount of personnel movement in the league? And is this justification about why we actually allow this stuff to happen in our Madden leagues? Because sometimes this stuff does happen.
Well, I won't say unprecedented, at least not in terms of free agents. This is kind of par for the course in terms of free agents. You have your big names like Sue out there. Obviously, it's not Sue every year, but it's been Peyton Manning or Albert Hainsworth or whoever it's been at for that year has been the big guy, and then you have everyone else kind of trickle in and fall in line underneath. But the big one that's shocking here is all the trading that's going on. You mentioned Chip Kelly finally losing all of his marbles, and I just want to know what he's thinking trading LaShawn McCoy for Kiko Alonso. I mean, yeah, good linebacker that you're getting there, but let's be perfectly honest here, and I say this as a fan of a team who just lost their star linebacker. Middle linebacker might be one of the easiest positions to fill in the NFL, and you have who is arguably the best running back in the league right now, and you trade him away for the linebacker? I don't get what's going on there. I get that LaShawn McCoy had a down year, not much of one, but he fit that offense so perfectly, and then you tried to replace him with Frank Gore. I mean, I'm probably the biggest Frank Gore homer on the planet, but I wouldn't want Frank Gore in that offense if I've had LaShawn McCoy. We'll see how DeMarco Murray pans out in Philadelphia. And there have been some other the LaShawn McCoy trade and the Jimmy Graham trade. Those are the two that have me scratching my head. Like, what are you thinking? You're going to trade away arguably the best tight end. I mean, probably Gronkowski has the stronger claim to that, but Jimmy Graham's not far behind, and one of the best playmakers in the league right now for a center and a draft pick. You get draft picks to get Jimmy Graham.
All right. Well, and those are fair points. And again, that kind of analysis, I appreciate it, but that's the stuff that everybody's kind of been talking about, those different scenarios. I want to keep it on the Madden tip. All right. Is this justification for us, commissioners of Madden leagues, to not be so stringent? And I'm not even speaking in relation to recent events in our league. I'm not trying to rehash that stuff. I'm just saying that we have always felt like we're 32 little GMs and coaches. And so we're all going to have our different ways to build teams, our different philosophies, all that kind of stuff, much like 32 GMs and coaches do in the real-life NFL. And it only takes one guy in the NFL to do something like Chip Kelly to really, to me, greenlight us in our Madden leagues, to greenlight that leeway to do those things. Now, granted, we have captains lists and things like that and limit the amount of trades so things don't just go completely haywire. But was a week like this past week, Alan, is that justification for the way that we look at our Madden league by allowing guys to have flexibility on their rosters and to actually make those types of trades and free agent moves?
Well, I think the justification for it just comes from the fact that trading and free agents are part of sports. I think maybe going into semantics here, less a justification and more a validation of what we do here.
Okay.
Because we do have our captains list, and I know that I've been a part of these arguments before. Well, hey, what do I care that this guy is the face of a franchise? He doesn't want to do what I want to do with my franchise. He doesn't fit how I want to build my team. Why can't I get rid of him? And the argument has been, well, because something like that, someone of this caliber wouldn't move in real life. Well, they just did multiple times. And LaShawn McCoy and Jimmy Graham are the two big examples, because free agents are free agents. That's fair game. Sue can go wherever he wants, and we've never really limited free agents here in West One. But with the trading, those two, LaShawn McCoy and Jimmy Graham, would be captains on their respective teams. Those would be face of the franchise type players that just moved. And so I think it does lend a little bit of argument to the fact that someone who's been running their team that says, and I'll use my own personal example because it's relevant to me, hey, I don't want Patrick Peterson on my team. He doesn't do what I want to do. I want to get him off the Cardinals and ship him for these other guys from this other team that do fit what I want to do. Well, now there's precedent for that. And it does lend a little bit of an argument to, hey, like, why can't I move these guys?
Well, here's the piece of that to tell you why not, is that turnover happens. Whether we like it or not, fortunate or unfortunate, turnover happens. We've seen it here recently in the past couple of weeks. We don't get into that now. We're going to talk a little bit about it later. But turnover happens, and so you end up getting new guys to the league. And if I'm the Oakland Raiders GM and owner like I am, and I trade away Khalil Mack, and something happens in my life and I can no longer be part of this league, and I leave, and another Raider fan comes in, RJ comes in and takes over control of the Oakland Raiders, is it going to be less appealing to him to not have Khalil Mack on his team, number 52? He just bought his jersey. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that where now you could make that same argument that, well, Jimmy Graham is that way, and people loved him, and there's a little video of the little girl crying, and so, you know, but at this point now, we're already halfway through our Madden cycle. So I think that by and really we're only one season away from having it be wide open. to having it be where you could trade Khalil Mack. You could, because your captain's list dwindles down over time. So I think the timing of it is actually really done well. And to keep a player like that high profile from moving within the first few seasons during the real-life NFL season before that player could actually even move, period, I think our timing's actually pretty good.
Well, I think there's a couple arguments with what you just said about, like, well, what if RJ takes over the Raiders and doesn't have XYZ player? And there's the argument in favor of that, and there's the argument against that. The argument in favor of that is that this is a Madden league. It's not real life. I mean, yes, in real life you would have, if a GM leaves and another GM... if a GM leaves and another G comes in, well, he's got to deal with the fact that Jimmy Graham is no longer on the Saints or what have you. And so that's how it would be in our Madden league. Also, it's like, well, you're the new GM coming in. You have to deal with the moves that were made before you. But as you said, there's a lot more turnover in a Madden league than there is in NFL GMing circles. So that's the argument for limiting the trades, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with how the trades here in West One. I think we actually have a pretty good system in place. But the argument for it is, what I just said. I mean, if I took over the Niners that didn't have Justin Smith or Dante Whitner, it was at the time Alex Smith was on the roster and he had gotten traded away. The owner before me blew up that team. I came in a team that didn't have Justin Smith or Navarro Bowman or Dante Whitner or Alex Smith. It was a Niners team that was unrecognizable to me. But hey, that's, to me, I was happy to have the Niners, and granted, yes, I would have loved to have some of those players, but that's what happens. The guy before me made these trades, and I had Andre Johnson and his 72 speed somehow. But, So I think it can go either way in our Madden League. I do think that what things that like this offseason do is just open up that discussion, and it now gives fire to those that say, hey, I want to trade away this guy. Andre Johnson is a Colt now, LaShawn McCoy is a Bill now, and Jimmy Graham is a Seahawk now. Why do I have to stay stuck with this player that I don't want?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. I think that we've found as fair of a balance as we can at this point, unless something new reveals itself for next year for Madden 16. But like I said, at this point, we're already one season away from having guys having just total roster flexibility. Of course, we still have our max contracts. They'll have to adhere to that. But outside of that, it's pretty much going to be the Wild West. All right, Alan, let's go ahead and get into our first segment of the night, which is our Week 11 scores. All right, starting us off here in Week 11, we had the Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this might have been a CPU game. Cowboys lose 17-23 to the Eagles. Nick Foles, 250 yards and a touchdown.
Which way was the CPU going? Was it Eagles running as the CPU? Because it's been good to see Dave.
You're muted again now.
I know he got one there at the end of the year, but can you hear me?
Yep, we got you now.
Okay. I know he got a big win at the end of last year, and he's racked up a couple this year, so I was wondering if this was a Dave Stacy win or if this CPU got it for him.
Hey, either way, I think Dave will take it. Moving on, we got the Lions and the Conquistadors. Viva la Conquistadors! They win 30-13 over Osteen and his Lions. Robert Quinn, Allen, 3 sacks in this game. I know you don't have a lot of love for the Rams, but I dig Robert Quinn, man. He's a heck of a player. Yeah, he is here in Madden as well. 30-13, Conquistadors.
Well, I'm not sure what's going on with the passing game in Detroit. Calvin Johnson only had 3 receptions and 43 yards, and overall on the day, Nash Arnold, who 9 of 24 for 90 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. I mean, that's not going to get it done against a quality team like the Mexico City Conquistadors. Talk about Sim. So it looks like there's some struggles out there in Detroit right now.
All right, the Tennessee Titans, Steve S., former Super Bowl champion here in West 1, took on my beloved Oakland Raiders. Allen, he ran the ball down my throat at key times. I looked real close at Kyrie Robinson and signing him as a backup to Ben Tate this offseason. Steve went and got him, and he's a starter, and it was a very smart move. Kyrie Robinson ran for 16 attempts for 79 yards and a touchdown. These were like, it's not major yards, but these were like key third down conversions, like 3rd and 5s, stuff like that. The reason I didn't sign Kyrie Robinson was I thought he was a little slow. His top end is only 84. But, Alan, when you look at the rest of the numbers, 90 acceleration, 98 truck, 91 carry, 83 ball carrier vision. That's a good player on the cheap. Steve made a great call on that, and the Titans beat the Raiders 24-17.
Are you sure there wasn't a little bit of subconscious going on in this game? I mean, hyping up the Titans for so much. I almost feel like you
like I rolled over for him? Yeah.
It tanked this one so you could finally say they won.
My Tennessee Titans beat my Oakland Raiders. Wait, what?
See, either way, you win.
Either way, all right, there you go. Just like our dad, I'll bet on whoever's winning that week. All right, the Ravens took on the Colts also in Week 11. Ravens win 27-24 combined between two Baltimore Raven quarterbacks, Flacco and Fisher, 332 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, the Ravens are making some serious noise here in West 1. I know they didn't have a huge playoff run last year, but they're setting themselves up in good position this year. I'll be curious to see what
Well, Alan, you cut out again.
showing.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Chiefs, Chargers, AFC West tilt. Alan, this was pretty cool. Super defensive game. I know that this Chiefs owner is not with us any longer, but heck of a defensive game here. Both teams had 3 turnovers, so that means both teams had 3 takeaways. Neither team eclipsed 245 yards total on the day. Chiefs win a close one, 17-10.
Well, the Chiefs have been keeping their stride going, even though they've had a lot of turnover in ownership. It's kind of like the ownership turnover we were talking about in the last segment. And I know as we get into some of the future scores with the Chiefs, there's going to be even more turnover. So impressive with the, though they don't have the same degree of coaching and ownership that they had last season.
All right, next up we had the Falcons take on the Cardinals. Atlanta Falcons rise up 20-3 over the Cardinals. Kind of a surprising win here. Not a dig at Brian at all, but, man, the Cardinals have been playing pretty darn good lately. Logan Thomas only goes for 166 yards, and he gets picked 3 times. John Skelton, on the other hand, 280 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, it definitely was a surprising win. I mean, I'll take it with the Cardinals in my division. But the Cardinals they ended the season on a bit of a strong note last year after starting off really poorly. But they got it together and came on for a strong run. And they've had a good showing so far this year. But ultimately against the Falcons, I mean, 3 interceptions isn't going to do it, and sub 50% passing, that's not going to do it. And I know that's not RJ's game. I know there's a lot more to be expected from that Cardinals offense.
Auden, I thought Jeter retired.
Jeter did retire.
Not according to our league. When the Packers took on the Buccaneers, and the Packers win 28-10, and the captain's back with all his respect, and the S looking like a 2 instead, and that whole dumb thing. The farewell tour, Alan, has transcended Major League Baseball and has now found its way into the National Football League and West 1. For crying out loud, Captain Jeter is back! 383 yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw a couple of picks, but so what? Packers win 28-10.
think that's a different Jeter we're talking about. This one was
Michael,
not Derek Jeter.
Well, never mind. Never mind.
For 383 yards, but it supports the notion that Josh Norman can win with any quarterback as he goes off for almost 400 yards with Derek Jeter's long-lost brother. Over there on the other end, you've got Blaine Gabbert, and I don't think I have to say any more. You have Blaine Gabbert starting as quarterback. You did not win the game.
So you're doing it wrong. You have Blaine Gabbert as your quarterback. You're doing it wrong. Broncos, Panthers. Broncos 10. Tough season for Nick so far. Panthers win big, 34-10. Cam Newton, 398 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yep, the Panthers slightly missed out on the playoffs last year, and they're right on the edge this year. But a 34-10 win over any team is definitely a good step towards that, especially if you can get 400 yards passing out of Cam Newton. Good showing. Panthers are definitely going to be a factor in the NFC playoff hunt.
Okay, Alan, I'm gonna take this down for a minute, and it's time for us to get serious about something. There's been an epidemic in our league, Alan. We've been called out, we've been called on the carpet, we've been scrutinized, questioned. We've really heard from some outside feedback about the amount of interceptions that get thrown in our league. And in this next game, Alan, we had a quarterback throw 7 interceptions. Alan, do you know what that quarterback's name is?
I want to say, is it Brock?
I'm sorry, you broke up. I didn't hear you. What was that?
Was it Brock?
Wait, I think you were thinking of the same guy, but maybe your pronunciation's a little off. One more time.
Brock
Rockford.
And I am here tonight as the representative for Brock, the conqueror himself, my client, Brock. Just suffered from Brock. Brock, you can't beat Brock. Best friend in the world, Brock. I got 2 words for you.
This is my favorite.
Brock! Brock!
That's right, Alan. Rockford. Brock. 7 interceptions on the day, and the Bengals go down to the Cleveland Browns, 38-41.
Well, as we say every week on this, when we're not taking that, you can't throw 7 interceptions against a quality opponent and expect to win. And we all know that Sean McDonald is a quality opponent. And this year, he has been putting it back together. What we expected of him from the get-go, he's this year and making a claim for the AFC.
All right, now that we've got all that out of our system, let's look at the Redskins and the Steelers. Landry Jones, 275 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Washington football team, I should say. The Washington team wins 34-31 over the Steelers.
Well, and this is big for Washington because they are right there on the bubble, bouncing in and out. It's a tight race in the NFC East. So every little win that Washington or any of these teams can squeak out is a big deal. So good on Washington.
You muted yourself again there, bub. Now you're back. Now you're muted. Now you're muted. All right, I'll move on to the next one. You jump in when you can. Texans, Jaguars. Jaguars, man, making some noise here in Season 3. Jaguars win 24-13. Blake Bortles, 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alan, you're still muted. All right, next up, we're going to go with the Giants and the Bears. You know, when you have a mundane personality challenge quarterback like Eli Manning, yeah, he's won a couple of rings, but we're not talking about the most dynamic guy in the world. Let's go out and get somebody that can change that. And by change that, I mean Andy Dalton. My gosh, talk about a lateral move. Other than the fact that he's a ginger, and we all know what happens when gingers go crazy. They ginger snap. Bah! Andy Dalton, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Giants win 23-13 over the Bears. Let's kick it to Alan. Alan, live on location in South San Jose. Are you there? No, he's not. All right, so we get to the next one, and we have the Dolphins and the Patriots. The Miami Dolphins, 39-13, clutch, 20-point win over the Patriots. Dolphins kind of fighting for their playoff lives here. Struggled a little bit, Scotty has, since taking over his beloved Miami Dolphins. Charles Clay, 7. There we go. Now you came back. Charles Clay, 7 receptions, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to see the struggle coming out of Miami this year. We all know what Sim Cotty's track record is, whether it's been Kansas City or Miami. I know we've given him a bad time that he doesn't have Jamal Charles anymore, but and I guess he hasn't needed it. I mean, he's got Kenjon Barner going off for 131 yards, Eddie Lacy with another 85 on only 10 carries. The run game is still there. There's just the rest of it isn't.
All right, your San Francisco 49ers took on the Seattle Seahawks, and Alan, Preston has had the better of you since you guys have started this rivalry, but you pulled out a win here. Keep the playoff hopes alive, 28-21 over the Seahawks. Something I thought was really interesting, though. Alan, I don't know how this went down. I'm expecting you'll tell us. You had 39 possessions in this game and scored 4 touchdowns. Preston had 55 possessions. I would love to see what the TOP was in this game. 55 possessions. I don't know if he was just flinging it and not chewing clock or what, but it seems to me like that's an awful lot of disparity there between the amount of plays ran in this game.
Well, he didn't beat me down with the run game like he normally does. Marshawn Lynch wasn't even on the stat line. I believe he's gone in San Diego now. And Russell Wilson, I'm not sure why he got pulled. I don't think he got injured, but maybe he did. Only had 2 attempts, and then Keegan Ingram came in, went 26 of 30 for 264 yards, and those 4 incompletions all came on about the last drive of the game. So he was still tearing me up with a new quarterback in there. Luckily, I was able to force an incompletion at the best possible time, i.e. at the 1-yard line with no time left. Sound familiar?
Ooh, absolutely. Clutch. Very clutch. All right, next up, Bills-Jets. This was a CPU game. Justin does what Justin does, even when Justin is the CPU. Bills 31, Jets 7. Okay, last up, Alan, we're going to talk about the Saints Vikings. Saints having it up and down so far in Madden 15. Right now, they're on an upswing. Here in Season 3, they win against the Vikings, who are on a downswing. Terry's kind of struggling here in Season 3. Adrian Peterson, 19 attempts for 63 yards. Very unlike Terry when it comes to running the football. I don't know if it just seems like he's been rusty. Seems like he's been rusty with Adrian Peterson. I know he sat him down that first season because we didn't know what was going on with Adrian Peterson. We didn't know if he was going to be in the NFL anymore. And so I believe he benched him for that first season. And since he's gone back to AP, he's kind of had struggled getting him going, at least not what we're typically accustomed to. But Teddy Bridgewater's not helping him either. 92 yards, 3 interceptions on the day.
Well, I'll tell you what's helped out with New Orleans. They got a legitimate running game. Traylon Belton, in his second year, drafted by Browning, 25 attempts, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And let's take a look at the season stat line. 1,283 yards and 19 touchdowns on the season. He's second in the league in rushing and number 1 in the league in rushing touchdown. Himself a legitimate running back.
All right, Alan, that brings Auden. I got to get back in that habit again. All right, Auden, that brings us to the end of our Week 11 scores. Congratulations to all of our winners. And now we're going to take a little bit of a turn, and we're going to go back. We had a little bit of a league discussion already. We're going to turn back to that, and we're going to go have a little bit more of a formal go over of some league happenings. Also, if any of you guys want to get in, please, we always welcome to join us on the show. You can text Alan, you can Facebook him, you can let him know you want to get in. You could just let us know, and the guys that are already in and joined us on the chat, on the what am I trying to say? On the Hangout, we can unmute you there, and you can get in that way, anyways, yeah. So if you want to get in, definitely do, or we can call you. You can let Alan know. Auden know, shoot him your number, and then we can call you and get you in on the show. So if you want to talk about your game, you want to talk about any of the league issues, opinions, all that good stuff, please join us if you want to. All right, Auden, the league issues. We've had, nothing's gone on this past week and a half, huh? It's been kind of quiet around these parts. Or not, or I think you're muted again. You know, it's been a lot here over the past couple of weeks, and so I'm not gonna drag anybody through the mud. I'm not gonna go over any specifics about anything. Things happen. It's a Madden league. This is, it's online gaming. I get it. Stuff happens. So I'm not gonna focus on the negative by any means. But I do want to just kind of start off, and a lot of you guys know this already, but I'm just saying it. Just a little 101 here. Our league philosophy has never been to be the most sim, has never been to be the most competitive, has never been any of those things. We've Salty and I, mainly him starting it, bringing me in as his co-commissioner, and then collectively he and I building this thing up together. We built this with the idea of having the best community of owners that could get in a Madden game in a mature community, and I don't mean mature age-wise, I mean mature emotionally, could get a good, fun, fair game in, timely, clean, all that. That's what we built our league on. So any of the scrutiny or criticism of West One based on play calling, rosters, sliders, any of that kind of stuff, that's fine, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but that's not what we're trying to do. So to kind of hold us in a negative light because of those things, it's like, well, okay, that's someone who really isn't getting it. It says in our rules, you either get it or you're gone. And that wasn't me. That was Salty that wrote that in there, and he's absolutely right. If you don't get that's what our league is about, then we're not the place for you. And it's not to say that those other leagues that do that stuff, that focus on that stuff and regulate stats and regulate rosters and do all that, that's fine. But that's not what we're about here in West One. So because of that, it takes me to our first really topic that I want to get on, and that's the gameplay. And Alan, Auden, the next time someone posts on the gameplay and questions someone else's gameplay, I'm going to pull what little hair I have left out. Look, we don't have rules about gameplay. We never have, and we never will. We feel that it's on you as the opponent to adjust. And as long as it's not an AI glitch, I know there's money plays. I know there's some plays that are more effective than another. I get all that. But as long as it's not taking advantage of an AI, of a game mechanic, you can run whatever you want. If you want to run the same 3 or 4 defenses or 3 or 4 offenses throughout the course of your season, it's okay. So to be the guy that gets onto Facebook and starts, complaining about it, it's mental masturbation. Nothing's going to change. It's going to be that way. Now, if you want to generate a discussion about a certain set or a certain play or, formations or theories, whatever, that's fair. But don't complain about what a guy runs, because he can run whatever he wants, and that's not going to change. So, Auden, are you back with us now? You're still muted. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Is that the gameplay is not going to change as long as everything is fair and as long as there's not a quote cheat. So the gameplay will remain the same. When Auden gets back in, we'll get his thoughts on it. There you are. Now you're back.
Now.
Yep.
There we go. All right. Hopefully this stays on. It's been very inconsistent. Apologies. But I agree with you 100%, and I've gotten into this conversation on the air with you, on the phone with you, on the Facebook page with everyone else. I do not want this league, and I know we're not going in that direction, but I do not want this league to get in the habit of regulating play calling. As it's been said, well, it's sim for teams to mix up their play calling. Yeah, you're right, it is, but do you know why Bill Belichick mixes up his play calling? Because it keeps the defense, the other coaches, off guard. If you're going to do that work for me and continue to play the same defense over and over again, then I'm going to keep running the same thing that attacks the weaknesses in that defense. And I don't think that it's fair that after that happens to have people on Facebook are coming on complaining about, oh, well, he kept running the same plays over and over again. Yeah, because you kept running the same defense over and over again. I had one guy tell me one time, well, it's not fair what you're doing because if I could, yes, that's the point. That is why the play is designed the way it is. It's supposed to stretch you out. What am I supposed to do? My guy's right there and let you pick off all my passes and just hope for the best? Or am I going to call plays that put my guys where your guys aren't? Not plays. And I've already complained and dropped F-bombs on Connect about money plays, but I'd rather get beat by those money plays and then eventually figure out how to beat it and become a better Madden player than to be able to stop those money plays because, oh, the league said they can't run them anymore. You can run them twice a game. It's like, well, how did I really become better? I just took away my opponent's weapons. I want the best of what my opponent has. And if that's the same tight end corner route or the same fullback angle route or the same crossing route every time, then so be it. Let me figure out how to beat it because there is a defense to beat it and there is a defense to beat everything in this game.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that the spirit of it defeats the spirit of the sport, which is football is the ultimate team sport because you are when you're playing it and when you're coaching it because there's so much strategy involved and it's so much what are you given and what can you take, what can you force on your opponent, all of those things. Breaking news, Justin Tsai has lost to the Miami Dolphins and Scotty. Thank you for that update, Josh Norman. It's so much of a give and take. So to call a play just because in the interest of, quote, mixing it up, you're devaluing the competition. Now, all that stuff I said to start about how our goal is to not be the most, the best Madden guys, and it's not to be the most sim, and it's not to be the most accurate and all that. We do strive for those things, but that's not how we're defined. But what we are defined as competitors, though. We can all be sweet to each other and nice and be competitive as crap. And I don't want anything given to me. The fact that somebody would be calling a different defense based solely on the fact that they hadn't called it yet or they felt that they're, quote, mixing it up, you're now devaluing the spirit of competition of our game. That I definitely don't want. How sterile is that? There's no fun in that. Don't downplay what you do. Now, don't beat me by 70. You know what I mean? And drag me through the ringer. But there's a certain spirit of sportsmanship there that's still in play. But through the course of a normal, not quote normal game, do what you do. I don't want to be given anything. I don't want to be catered to. I don't want to be. Well, give me an extra break, like you said. I want to earn it. It doesn't. What am I earning? What am I earning? Well, you letting me win. Like you're letting me, help figure you out because you're calling a different play set that that is unproven. I don't want that. That's just cheap.
Well, and you're right. Cheap, I think, is a great word, because I also had another owner once tell me, like, oh, well, I could have beat you if I would have kept going to my key player over and over again, because I have certain plays that I run with him, and they work all the time. Then do them. Don't stop going to it. Because why? Because you're trying to be nice to me? Because I'll tell you this, I'm not going to stop going to what works on my end. I want you to keep going what works. And as many F-bombs as I'm going to drop on Connect for all my fans out there, like Norman and Osty and everyone else, they're going to love it. But I would rather go through those frustrations knowing that you gave me your best and I wasn't good enough than to run through this entire league because everyone was neutered and didn't give me the best that they had. How does that make me feel accomplished knowing that I beat you because you didn't give me your best shot?
Absolutely, and let me give you another angle on that too, something that Salty told me, because I used to be the king of the – I have the best fullback that Madden has ever seen, and there's not even a close second. Marcel Reese he's a fast – tight end playing fullback. You want to talk about the fullback angle route, it's already pretty tough to defend, let alone with a 95 overall fullback that has 90 acceleration and 90 speed and can catch. Okay? But that's not my fault. I didn't make him. You know what I mean? He is what he is, and if he's going to do that play and succeed at it, I'm going to utilize it. All right, now that said, that and also the tight end, I was a tight end in high school. I dig the position. I dig the way it's played now in the NFL. I like it. I like guys like Gronk and guys like Jimmy Graham and all. I like the threat of a tight end, of a big body, good hands. You know, the guys that can get downfield. You could split out in the slot. I like the position, so I like to utilize it. Before I knew anything about releases and how the AI reacted to, long before any of that, I just like using the tight end. Well, okay, so fullback and tight end were absolute features of my offense forever. Then Salty told me, he was like, you know, dude, you do good at that, and you get by with that, and you're good enough to just miss the playoffs or just make the playoffs. He's like, but without having more diversity in your game, you're limiting yourself from taking that next step and winning a Super Bowl, or taking the next two steps and winning a Super Bowl. And he was right. He was absolutely right. And nowadays, my leading receiver isn't Marcel Reese anymore. My leading receiver isn't my tight end anymore. Heck, they're not even in the top three. Maybe one of them in the top three. But wide receivers are now much more in play in my offense than they ever have been in the past. And it's added a level of diversity to my game. And when I'm on and I'm clicking, I'm a tougher beat than when I was just falling back on that Marcel Reese and Zach Miller or Derek Carrier or whoever it is. Okay, so I was able to accomplish within my game exactly what we're trying to get to by having more diversity in offenses, but the commissioner didn't have to regulate it. He didn't have to tell me, okay, dude, you got to throw this amount of passes to your tight end, this amount of passes to your wide receivers, Marcel Reese can't catch more than 3, you can't run them on field. He didn't regulate it. He explained it to me that, you know what, dude, if you want to be better, you got to grow. And so that's what my advice would be to guys, that if you are falling back on the same thing, well, look at the guys that are doing that. It's not Justin Tsai. It's not Scott McGowan. It's not Preston. It's not Norman. It's not the guys that are going to compete for a championship in our league. So if you are one of those guys that is falling on 2 or 3 or 4 plays, knock yourself out. But if you ever want to take a next step, I would highly encourage you to explore other areas of your offense and defense.
Exactly. You know, because and there are money plays, definitely. There's plays that work better than should, and it's frustrating. And sometimes even when I'm calling those plays, because I have them myself, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't. I have my plays that are, quote, money, that work better than they should, and it doesn't seem right that you can run those plays and have relative success with them in terms of, I'm going to run this play and I'm going to get yards on this play. This is going to be a positive play. And and that's something that Madden needs to work on. But I think everything that you just said is absolutely right. It's the difference between mixing it up because you were forced to, which does not add to competition, or mixing it up because you are trying to expand your game. And like you said, all the top guys in our league that have championships or are constantly competing for championships, all of them do things to expand their game. They don't do the same thing over and over and over again. Unless you're Simcotty and with Jamal Charles and you run those counter routes all the time. But actually, even I only
out of all the different pistol formations.
Okay. But actually, to give a little bit of credit to him, I only played him once because he's in the opposite conference as me. But the thing is he'll run that play so that you think you know what he's doing, and then all of a sudden he just beats you over the top.
That's exactly what he does with his dang tight end.
With his tight end, there you go. Well, I mean, it's not Simcotty's fault that Dwayne Bowe is like 62 speed.
Right, yeah, absolutely. No, those are good points, and you're right, and that's what Scotty does. He baits you. He's just waiting for you to commit 6 guys to the line of scrimmage and hitting the edges to try to catch up with Jamal Charles, because then he just rolls out and dumps it over your head. But anyways, all right. So that's where we're at on that stuff, guys. If you do have a complaint about anything, about gameplay or anything else, West 1 Wise, your new point of contact, as announced on Facebook and now here officially on WestOne Radio, will be my little brother, Auden Murphy. Auden, congratulations. You are now the new colonel of officiating. One of the more funny Facebook threads that's gone on here lately. You guys had me in tears. I'm reading through all these different chicken posts, and so you earned that. You went from the dean of officiating, like Dean Blandino, to now the colonel of officiating. So congratulations on your new position, and guys, anything and everything. This is going to be a little bit of diversification of responsibilities, or is that not right? Or the diffusing of it, whatever it is. We're spreading it out. So, and this is not Murph's complaint fest here, but at times it could be overwhelming to me, the amount of exchange of information that goes on in our league. I enjoy every second of it. Please don't stop sending me stuff. Please don't stop communicating. But with 31 guys wanting to talk about West 1, sometimes I get overwhelmed. And one of the things that can be overwhelming to me is the complaints about other owners, whatever. So Alan is going to take that responsibility. Alan he's a fair guy. He'll give you a fair shake on everything. He's a dang Democrat, for crying out loud. Everybody plays in the same sandbox. Okay, so you will get a fair call by him. So if you got to complain about anything, run it through Alan. Now that's not me backing away. I'm still going to be involved, and if there's a suspension to be had or anything like that, Alan and I will work together on it. So it's not, we're not just handing, Alan Mjolnir here and just telling him to drop it down on everybody. Okay, that's not what it is. We're still,
for K-Matt and Norman. Sure.
Well, there you go. This is those two guys. But no, this will still be a collaborative effort. But your main contact from here out will be Auden. So thank you to him for being willing to take on this responsibility. Thank you to you guys for understanding. And again, don't stop the feedback. I would encourage you to not complain about other people's gameplay, but if you got something you absolutely have to get off your chest and get reported, then hit him up.
And thank you. I'm definitely happy to be in the position and to take on this responsibility. You've already heard live on air, or if you're watching it on the YouTube replay, you've already heard where Murph and I both stand about the play calling and stuff. So if you need to come to me and say, hey, my opponent kept running the same counterplay over and over again, you can message me about it, but I'm not going to take that back to Murph for a suspension or any kind of like regulation or anything like that. But I've already had a few people message me about stuff about that, and hey, I'll have the conversation because am on an internet radio show for 2 hours a week just to talk about Madden. I have no problem talking about Madden. And that's outside of all the message boards and stuff I'm on. So I'll have the conversation with you and stuff, but that's not what I'm going to be regulating. I'm not going to say, yeah, your guy ran too many tight end corner routes, Jimmy Graham suspended. Well, actually, I probably will suspend Jimmy Graham starting in Madden 16, but that's, neither here nor there. But of course, if there's any issues with, hey, my opponent went for it on 4th down in his own territory and it wasn't the 4th quarter, if there's any, hey, my opponent went no huddle, if there's any of that stuff, the blatant rules violations, and the same thing that's always been intact, I mean, try to handle it amongst yourselves first, because a lot of times it's a mistake or what have you, and things can just be sorted out by, hey, talking to each other, send each other a quick text message or message over the Xbox or whatever and try to work it out. But I'm here for that stuff. The 4th downs, the no huddles, running up the scores, stuff like that. That's what I'm here for. And as Murph said, this is by no means me dropping hammers and having all the rule. I am going to be discussing this stuff with Murph, and I'm not just going to start handing out suspensions or punishments willy-nilly. It's still going to be a collaborative effort between he and I. But it's just it gets another point of view in there, and I think that's good for Murph. I think that's good for the rest of the league, just to have different points of views going into these situations. I think it'll help out.
Absolutely. It's a fresh set of eyes, and frankly, it's a fresh set of untainted eyes, because, whether we like it or not, I'm a human being, and if I've just gone through the ringer with one guy, and then the next guy shows up, and you know what I mean? It's like I'm already loaded for bear. I don't have... We are not going to debate whether you broke a rule or not. I'm just unloading them. You know what I mean? I'm shooting. You know what I'm saying? And so that's not always necessarily fair to the guy that comes in second. And there certainly could have been a case of that this past week. And so, anyways, appreciate everybody's feedback. I am, what is it, fallible? Is that the word I'm looking for? I'm a human being and I make mistakes, and I don't do everything perfect, although we do try to do the best job that we can for you guys in the most fair way possible. And I think that is where having Auden come in on this is key, is that he's going to provide a balanced, fair opinion. So that said, we have 2 new owners to welcome in. We've had a little bit of transition, and I think that we're in a good spot. The fact that we're 32 owners deep this late in the Madden cycle, I think, is a strong testament to our league, and by that I mean to you guys, and how active you are, and how just what awesome participants you guys are. I don't know how many weeks we went in a row with early advances, but my gosh, I think we could not have another game until April and still be ahead of the curve, which tells me we're probably looking really good at getting a 6th season in. So that's excellent. So, again, thank you to you guys. Go ahead. Jump in.
Well, I was just going to add on to that. Technically, we're still on that streak, because even though the advance did come today, it came hours before the deadline. So we're still on that streak. And April is obviously a joking exaggeration, but we are a couple weeks ahead. I mean, I think technically we have until March 28th or something. I mean, we've been doing real good on our advances, and we've already got 3 or 4 games already in since this advance, and RJ and Ike are going after this, so we're going to have another one in, so it's definitely been great activity. So not to interrupt you, but I was just adding on and
you're fine
with what you said.
No, you're fine, and I'm playing Shizani, so I mean we're gonna have the games are coming in fast and furious, so that's a good thing. So to be that active, I guess is what I'm saying at this point in the Madden cycle, that's strong, guys. So I'm thankful for you all, and I'm proud of what we've built and the community of owners that we've had, and it's just gotten stronger. I think that the 2 new personalities we've added, one is a family member, one is a good friend of another owner, and Auden, those are always the best ones, to get referrals like, Domino and Brian, you and I, or Ostie and Norman. There's personal connections, real life connections between guys I think that adds to the strength of our ownership. And so, anyways, with the two most recent guys, Dalton Stacy added in, and then also I don't even know his real name, but Shazani's buddy, the guy that's the West One chief. So we welcome both of those guys in, and look forward to having them here in West One. Auden, you got anything else league-wise that you want to drop before we take a quick break and move on to Week 12?
Well, I was going to say those kinds of connections are always great to have, unless you're my buddy Joel who took over the Falcons last year. That was kind of a disaster. But love the guy, but wasn't the most reliable West 360 gamer. But no, welcome to the league, to our two new owners, taking on, as you said, the Jets and the Chiefs, and we're staying 32 strong. That's always good. So keep it up, guys. This is a great league and a great experience, and it's because of the 32 guys that we have here, myself included, if I can be a little bit egotistical. Just a little bit. I'm too like PC on this show. I gotta get a little bit in.
Fair enough. All right, Auden. Well, you and I are both huge wrestling fans. We got a few other guys in our league that are big wrestling fans, and this is the part of the show where we're gonna kind of take a quick little break and play a little wrestling segment here about a prank call that I found a few months ago. Actually, this is just that Josh has got to go pee segment. So have fun. Go now. What? The thing don't work. Oh my gosh, killing me. Oh, Auden, this is a disaster. Okay.
Welcome back, everyone.
I know, we find something else I can play.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
How many times has this happened to you? You have a bass and you're trying to find an exciting new way to prepare it for the dinner table. You can scale the bass, remove the bass, tail, head, and bones, and serve the fish as you would any other fish dinner. But why bother now that you can use Ronco's amazing new kitchen tool, the Super Bass-O-Matic 13. Yes, fish eaters, the days of troublesome scaling, cutting, gutting are over, because Super Bass-O-Matic 13 is the tool that lets you use the bass with no fish, no waste, and without scaling, cutting, or gutting. Here's how it works. Catch a bass, remove the hook, and drop the bass. That's right, the whole bass into the Super Bass-O-Matic 13. Now, just adjust the control dial so that the bass is blended just the way you like it. Yes, it's that simple.
Wow, that's terrific bass.
We've got bass here. Fast, easy, ready to port. Super Bass-O-Matic 13 comes with 10 interchangeable rotors, a 9-month guarantee, and a booklet. 1,001 ways to harness your bass. Super Bass-O-Matic 13 works great on sunfish, perch, sole, and other small aquatic creatures. That's Super Bass-O-Matic 13. It's clean, simple, and after 5 or 10 fish, it gets to be quite a rush. Super Bass-O-Matic 13. You're never going to have to scale, cut, or gut again. Just send $49.95 to the Sports Dagos, care of the Dago Dungeon, Oakland, California.
Hey, we're live. We are live.
All right, we're back here at WestOne Radio. We're going to get into
Hope you feel better, Josh.
Oh my gosh, yes I do. As a matter of fact, that was a quick pee, man. I won't tell you what happened. I'll spare you the gory details, but we almost had a little bit of an accident. Which would be the first time that never mind. I'll save it.
I'm sure K-Matt would be happy to hear all about it.
I'll save the family curse stories about how us Murphy/Saltalamakias have trouble getting things into the toilets. All right, I ruined a good Raider hat one time. Did I ever tell you that story? When I put poo on my Raider hat?
I don't think you did, but a Raider hat's a good place for poo.
Oh, there you go. Hey-o! All right, I'll tell you that story some other time. I don't know. It was kind of funny. No, I'll save it. I'll tell it some other time. But yeah, I got poo on a Raider hat and then put the hat on, and it ended up right above my eyebrow. It was pretty gross. Ruined a perfectly good hat. Prattville, Alabama. Truck stop. Oof. Sorry. I digress. All right. Week 12 scores.
And it's become that show now, guys.
I had to go so bad, right? And so I go pulling into this travel stop in Prattville, okay? And so I had to go, and hang on, I gotta take this. Okay, so I swing in and I go into the back, and I think that I was gonna make it, right? But sometimes your body can sense when it's getting close to a toilet, and it's like you have to go worse the closer you get, And so I'm taking my drawers down, Alan, and the party had already started, if you know what I mean. And so I get down, and I'm thinking that I'm good, right? I'm thinking that I'm all done. I'm like, whoo, boy, that was a close one. And so as I'm sitting there, I took off my hat, and I kind of set it on my pants, like there, kind of set it, just to sit there while I was going to the bathroom, And so I got done, and I realized that it didn't all go in. There was some on the outside parts, and so it got into my underwear. When I took my hat, right, I put it in my drawers there, it got some poo on my hat. And so I'm like, so I throw my hat on the ground, right? And I'm like, that's nasty. So I clean myself all up. I've forgotten, believe it or not, because I was so tied up with the other things going on, I grabbed my hat, and as I'm getting ready to go, and it was backwards. And I put it on, and I look, and I'm like, I'm looking in the mirror, and there's poo right across my eyebrow, right here. And I just took my hat off. I threw it. I'm like, that's it. I was so disgusted with myself that I pooed on my own head.
And we have become South Park WestOne Radio.
It's family curse, dude. All right. So for those of you just joining us,
I'm not that. I don't have that curse.
We did. We just had some guys join us on the Hangout too after that last segment. So I apologize that you had to join in for some Madden WestOne football talk, and you got a poo story out of Prattville, Alabama. Auden, the Packers took on the Bears in Week 12, and the Packers win 59-54. Jimmy Garoppolo, 540 yards and 6 touchdowns, but also in the game, Alan, playing quarterback. As amazing a performance as that was out of Jimmy Garoppolo. You know who also was there?
Derek Jeter's long-lost brother.
Not long-lost nothing. The captain was there, and the captain went 3 for 5, 121 yards, 3 hits, a walk, 2 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
Well, see, this game defies logic, because what is it that we always say on WestOne Radio? You can't throw 6 interceptions against a quality opponent and expect to win. The Packers threw 6 combined interceptions. The Bears threw none. In fact, they threw 6 touchdowns. And yet the Packers still won. What's going on here? Unless we want to say that the Bears are the opponent, I'm sure Norman would say that as he clinches his playoff berth and his eventual annual playoff choke job with a 59-54 win over the Bears.
Ooh, them's fighting words. All right, next up, Chargers, Steelers. Geno Smith hits 9 different receivers in the game, goes for 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Allen, is he back?
Can we call him the King of New York anymore when he's on the other coast and in Southern California? But Geno Smith is
King of New York is not defined by team. He is defined by talent. And Geno Smith is still the King of New York.
I'll go with King of San Diego. Not that that's much of an accomplishment, but 256 and 2 touchdowns, that's pretty good. So congratulations on the Chargers. Probably not going to be enough to put them into the playoff race. It's pretty tight over there in the AFC, but good win against the Steelers.
For all of us here at News Center 4, I'm Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, San Diego.
All right, Alan, next up we have the Seattle Seahawks take on the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, unless it's week 13 and you're playing Scotty. But in week 12, they circle the wagons. 23-7, the Bills win over the Seahawks. Sammy Watkins, Allen, 10 receptions, 185 yards, and 0 Fs given. Sammy Watkins ruins the Seattle Seahawks, 23-7.
And Justin Tsai says his law passes only work 50% of the time. Come on, what do you got Sammy Watkins on out there? 185 yards, 318 from E.J. Manuel. I don't think that's Sim. And another 56 from LeGarrette Blount. So I'll take it. I'm happy anytime the Seahawks lose. So thanks on that one, Justin. 23-7, Bills win. Seahawks on a little bit of a skid right now. I think that's 3 straight that they've lost. They're losing their hold on that division.
Next up, the Dallas Cowboys, led by one Tony Romo. Win a close one over the Ravens. We talked earlier about how the Ravens were kind of on a roll. Boy, they ran smack dab into the Dallas Cowboys, though, and Romo goes 293 yards, 3 touchdowns. Cowboys win by a field goal, 31-28.
And the Cowboys are making a case for the playoffs. They're right there in the thick of things in the NFC, both fighting for the division or the wild card, and to come out on top of a strong Ravens team, 31-28. This Dallas Cowboys team is making a little bit of noise. They might be looking to do some damage here in the NFC.
La Conquistadors. Viva la... Oh, wait a minute. No, they lost it. They lost by 6. Saints beat the Conquistadors 30-24. Traylon Belton, you mentioned him last week. He's back again this week. 137 yards, 3 touchdowns on 20 attempts on him. Traylon Belton getting it done for the Saints.
No, this guy is bonkers. He might be one of the best draft picks we've had in Madden 15 this whole year. For what have we had? We've had 2 rookie drafts now. Traylon Belton might be one of the biggest stars that's come out of our 2 drafts. Browning is getting the most out of him. Traylon Belton is putting in work in New Orleans, and it's carrying them to an NFC South best 8-3.
Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Minnesota Vikings. Terry is struggling. Vikings lose. They get shut out, Alan. 40-0. Teddy Bridgewater, 3 picks. Jaguars combined for 178 yards on the ground. Jaguars making a case not only to win the AFC South, but to continue on. Saxonville looks to make some noise in the postseason.
And only 12 yards rushing for Adrian Peterson on 10 attempts. Something's just not working for Terry this year in Madden, and it's a shame because Terry is an owner who has had success. He's gotten to the playoffs, he's won playoff games, and was one of my picks coming into this year to be a strong candidate for Madden 15 in the NFC North. I played a couple games against him before we started our league, and he was tough, but this year's Madden just does not like him very much, and when you get beat down 40-0 by anyone, that's got to be disheartening.
He must not be running enough counters. All right, Niners took on the Patriots, your San Francisco 49ers, and Run DMC goes 26 for 109 yards. You win by 10, 27-17. Alan, we're starting to get a little close on time, so I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I did want to ask you about something. Darren Darren McFadden, you have on your team, San Francisco 49ers. He's now on the Dallas Cowboys in real life. There's kind of been a little bit of a debate on, does DeMarco Murray get all those yards with the Dallas Cowboys because of that amazing offensive line that they have, or is DeMarco Murray a product of his own talent? My opinion is that it's probably a little bit of both, but I think it more so lends to the talent of the Dallas Cowboys, because we saw DeMarco Murray, we already had a sampling of him as a player and never saw the kind of production until Dallas stacked up that offensive line like they did. Whereas if you look at a player like Barry Sanders, never had an offensive line and still was one of the most prolific runners that we have ever seen. So my question to you is this. Is it a chicken or the egg? Is it a combination of the two? And not as much in real life, but as Madden goes, Alan, can you stack an offensive line like you had with the Niners and get the same amount of production out of a kind of good running back? Or could you, if you had Adrian Peterson, could you be lighting it up for 100 yards a game regardless of what kind of an offensive line you had?
Well, if we're talking about Madden terms, I think there's a little bit of both that goes into it. For example, I had Frank Gore for 2 years. He's obviously a highly rated running back, not the best in Madden, but he's a good running back, and I couldn't really do much of anything with him. I get Darren McFadden, who's rated a lot lower, but has some high... Last year, I was third in the league in rushing with him. So I think that there is a level. I don't think I could do this with just any running back to put behind my offensive line and have success with them. But I think if you gave me someone like Darren McFadden who either has really high speed or someone like a Jamal Charles or Adrian Peterson or someone like that, I would have success. I don't think I could do it with just anybody.
All right, fair enough. I think it's an interesting topic for debate, and I'm curious to see what DMC is going to do. I hope he stays healthy. I want to see what he's going to do behind that big Dallas offensive line. You know, he was running behind the same offensive line as Rashad Jennings and Latavius Murray, and both of those guys had great success running the football, where DMC didn't. I think he's got some vision issues, and I think he's frankly lost a step. He's 7 years in the league now, so. But I'll be curious to see how he does.
I also think there's some probably morale going into play there. I mean, he went to Oakland, and he obviously didn't pan out the way that everyone hoped that he would, and I think after a point in time, like, just a change of scenery will do good. I mean, by no means am I expecting Darren McFadden to have a DeMarco Murray type year in Dallas, but I think he'll at least become a factor. Getting out of Oakland, and this isn't like my bash Oakland session, but I think for a guy like him, getting out of a place like Oakland and going to a place like Dallas, and we already know that Jerry Jones has a love affair for Arkansas anyways, so Jerry Jones is probably thrilled to have Darren McFadden and is going to be a key part of that offense, I think. I think Darren McFadden will be significant this year. Not great, but significant. I wouldn't go running out to draft him in your fantasy leagues, but maybe pick him up on a waiver wire.
Well, and you know, that was the thing, is that he tried to get Darren McFadden. Obviously, the Raiders drafted him first, and then he took the consolation prize, which was Felix Jones, also out of Arkansas. So, yes, definitely a love affair there, and I'm with you. I think that's going to be one of the more intriguing stories, because when Darren McFadden was healthy and doing well, he was one of the more dynamic players in all the National Football League. So, anyways, wish him the best, and we'll be curious to see how he does. All right, let's move on. Chiefs-Panthers. This was one of those fuse games that caused a little bit of a whatever. It is what it is. Pryor, 4 picks on the game. Panthers lose 24-27. Chiefs win.
Well, then that's definitely going to hurt the playoff hopes for the Carolina Panthers. I want to say that puts them at 4-7 on the year, and it's kind of a bottleneck in the NFC for those last couple playoff spots. You got pretty much 4 or 5 teams between the NFC East and NFC West fighting for 2 spots, and I don't think 4-7 is going to be able to get it done for Carolina. But that being said, there's still some time left, and here come the Chiefs on the other side, even further cementing their claim to the AFC West title and probably a deep run in the AFC side of the playoffs.
Our next score up is the Browns and the Jets. Alan, this was a CPU game. This was before Dalton got in to take over the New York Jets. Again, welcome to Dalton. Look forward to seeing how he can do here in West 1. The Browns win 27-20. We'll go to the next user game, which was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alan, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the schneid. Donald got a good win here. Beats the Falcons 27-10. Falcons haven't risen up here in Season 3. Tough road to hoe. That's a tough conference, tough conference, yes. Tough division, even more so. The muscle hamster, Doug Martin, 30 attempts, 144 yards, and a touchdown. Buccaneers roll 27-10. The Buccaneers and their bucking eyes and their bucking noses and all those bucking butts.
Well, and it has been a rough going for our defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not doing a good job with that title defense. But my sources out in Tampa Bay have told me that the this year, and they plan to win out on the rest of the season to sneak into the playoffs. Now, I don't know where that information is coming from. I can't reveal my sources, but look for the Buccaneers to try to make some noise towards the end of the year here.
Well, we look forward.
Players coming back from injury. Blaine Gabbert will no longer be the starting quarterback. They'll be getting their starting quarterback back, and their wide receiver will be coming back. So they'll be getting some weapon offense back that they haven't had all year due to injury. So we'll see if those pieces are enough to go on a last-minute run.
We will certainly see. I don't believe we've ever had a Super Bowl champion not make the playoffs the next year. All right, or next season, I should say. Dolphins 34, Bengals 3. Allen, Kenyon Barner, I guess Kenyon Barner, for the Miami Dolphins. 26 attempts, 173 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the Dolphins, which was obviously the key to their success in winning this football game. Auden, we had a discussion on Facebook earlier today about how or what type of a back you need to be truly effective at the counters. The counter we know is overpowered, and you can do it with pretty much anybody. But if you have a very specific type of running back, a la Jamal Charles, you can be straight dominant with it. Well, Scotty, when he moved on to the Dolphins, left Jamal Charles behind. What he did do was he picked up Kenyon Barner in Miami. And Allen, he's been tweaking Kenyon Barner. 26 attempts, like I said, 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. 93 speed, 94 acceleration, 92 elusiveness, 92 juke move, and 88 spin move. Someone's got Jamal Charles light in Miami. Look out.
Well, he's those are definitely some good attributes. He's still not Jamal Charles, at least on the overall, but they said that he couldn't get it done without Jamal Charles, and here he is getting it done without Jamal Charles. Although, granted, he's got Ryan Tannehill throwing 4 picks on the game, and that's probably what's holding him back this year. But you can get away with 4 picks when on the other side you have Rockford Brock throwing another 7 interceptions. 59 yards passing from Rockford Brock? What's going on out there in Cincinnati?
Wow, yeah, tough road for the Bengals. Appreciate your enthusiasm on Rockford Brock. I love that. All right, next up, Colts, Lions. Colts 24, Lions 23. Auden, it came down to a last-second field goal. But to get there, Andrew Luck, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns. Colts win. Little bit of not a controversy, but a questioning of how this game unfolded in the last seconds. Did Ostie go too soft on defense and let K-Mac get into position to kick that long field goal? Should he have been more aggressive? Should he have been doing what he did all game long? How many times, Auden, do we see it week in, week out, not only in West One, but in the real-life NFL. Don't go completely soft late in the fourth quarter. Keep the pressure on them. Keep doing what you're doing, because all it takes is one or two lucky plays on that soft defense of yours for a guy to get into position and kick a late field goal, and that's exactly what happened to Ostie this week. Colts win a close one.
Yeah, you can't do it. I've lost games this year because I've done it. You can't do it. You got to stick with it. It backfired for Ostie this week, and a tough season gets even tougher as he loses a last-minute heartbreaker to the Colts.
Norman is running you under the bus in the chat, by the way, because of your hamster spinning the wheel, generating enough electricity to power the internet in South San Jose, because every time you click on to refresh your page to get a score and you start talking, the mute button kicks on. You get pixelated, and the brakes are hit on your broadcast. No, we haven't taken any calls yet. Justin, would you like to get in here on West 1? I'm assuming so. So, Justin, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to show you in the broadcast. And, Justin, whenever you're ready to come on in, just go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll be here with us on WestOne Radio. Dead air.
Hello?
Come on, Justin. There he is. Justin Fry, owner of the Buffalo Bills. Welcome in to WestOne Radio.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hello, Justin.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Yep, loud and
We
clear.
can hear you fine.
Okay, all right, just making sure. I never had this work before.
You never had what before?
Okay, you know what? Wait, can you guys hear me clearly, or
Yeah,
maybe
Very clearly.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and, yep, just got off a tough loss versus Scotty. Props to him. He played excellent defense, probably the best defense I've seen him play. The best defense I've seen anybody play all year long. So I don't know how he did it, but he's definitely stepped his game up.
Tell us what happened. We're here live on the air and didn't have a chance to watch the game. What was the final score? What was the deciding factor? Give us a little bit of a rundown.
Oh, so the final score I believe was 31-14. It was a defensive struggle for the most part. I credit Scotty's ability to use her on defense. People always say that crossing patterns are overpowered, no one can stop them, but he had them locked down pretty well. And on the flip side, he ran some crossing patterns as well. I guess I got a taste of my own medicine. And yeah, he locked me up pretty well. Like definite props to him. You guys were mentioning earlier that he's reliant on his running game, but it looks like he's balancing that up with a more consistent passing game as well as a much, much, much better defense than I've seen him play before.
Auden, you got anything for Justin?
Keep going. I'll have something.
Okay. All right, Justin, I have a question for you. You mentioned, I've always thought, let me say this first. I've always thought that you and Scotty are the absolute best at usering your middle linebacker and anticipating routes. That when you looked at our stats from last season, I believe you and Scotty were 1 and 2 in interceptions, and it wasn't with a DB. It was with your middle linebackers. It was with yours was Kiko Alonso, and his was it Houston. It was it Johnson? I don't remember who it was. But anyways, you guys are phenomenal at that. Did Scotty show you something different this game than what you're typically used to seeing? Did he find a new wrinkle to maybe a different route to anticipate? Did you think he figured something out about your game, or did he change up maybe the way he uses that middle linebacker?
Well, according to him, he says that he's found more success with zone blitzes. Maybe he knows what areas to cover up in a zone blitz, and when you do a zone blitz, naturally you leave one area exposed. Maybe he's learned how to minimize that exposure as well at the same time maximizing coverage. And yeah, I mean, and credit to him, he called a lot of zone blitzes. That was pretty much like all the play calling he did. But he knew how to cover up those weaknesses. He knew like what kind of adjustments I would call once I saw the zone blitz, and he locked that up as well. So I guess to answer your question, a combination of all those factors. He knew what kind of plays I called. Maybe that's a detriment of my constant broadcasting. It's okay though. and also just he's a good player. He's improved.
Absolutely. Now, Justin, that drops you to 11-1 on the year. No one's feeling sorry for you and your first world problems because you lost a game. But does that take any kind of pressure off of you? Do you feel? Is it like you hear the old adage in the real life NFL about how if you lose one, then the pressure's off, and now you can just get back to focusing on what you do. Is there any of that truth to Madden? I've never been the talented enough of a player to go and lose one or no games throughout the course of the year. Heck, I'm lucky to get to 10-6 every year. Is there anything to that, Justin? Is it almost maybe in the back of your mind a sigh of relief, or do you, or does it just you're still a competitor and it just grinds you up to the fact that you lost?
Yeah, probably more of the latter. I mean, nobody likes to lose. Like, I don't think anybody would take any gratification to losing. I know there's like some kind of silver lining, like there's less pressure, but I mean, 16-0 would be better than 15-1. 15-1 would be better than 14-2, etc. And there is still a realistic chance that I can lose out, and then Scotty can still win the division. So, I mean, it's not a good thing. And of course, like it does. At the same time, it does motivate me to improve. I will admit that. If you have this long winning streak, you're naturally gonna, I guess, go into a period of complacency, and getting thrashed like that definitely, I guess, perks me up a bit and gets me more motivated. So I guess that's a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. That to me, that's always when I get better. Is when I just get the crap kicked out of me. That's always when I get better. It's when I almost get frustrated with myself. That it's like, all right, I can't believe I've gotten to this point. I've gotten this unimaginative in my gameplay or whatever it may be, or I got 400 plays in my playbook, but I keep falling into the same 10 or 15, and it's almost like I just got to hit the reset button. And that's typically when those things happen. And I know Salty, that was always what he said too when he won the Super Bowl in season 1. I forget who it was that he lost to, but someone beat him pretty handedly, and I think that was the only game he lost in the regular season, and he was pissed. He was pissed at himself. He's like, I can't believe I lost in this fashion. And when he did, that's when he started researching different defenses, different ways to get guys into position, obviously not pre-snap, but just different ways to call audibles and shift players around and all that stuff, and it elevated his game, and he went on to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, maybe this will be, like you said, you never like to lose, but maybe this will be a little bit of a kick for you and, help you kind of refocus on finishing out the year.
Yeah, completely. No, yeah, definitely it does have me more motivated. I know even Scotty, like I think he's like 7-5, 6-5. So, I mean, obviously I'm giving Scotty tremendous props, but I mean, if I get my ass kicked by a 7-5 guy, then, naturally, I know like guys like Josh Norman are red hot. So if I were to see him in the Super Bowl, then I got to be careful about that.
It's a good point. Auden, you got anything?
Yeah, so you've had, 2 straight NFC or AFC championships now against Sim Cotty, and when he was on the Chiefs, you two were going back and forth for undefeated until you guys played each other. How is that rivalry now different for you now that you both are in the same division?
Did we lose Justin?
Justin, do we have you?
Hello? Yeah, sorry. I think Alan was breaking up a bit. Was that just me?
No, he breaks. He's got the hamster in
okay, all right.
Full gear, buddy. But he's giving it around. He's got.
I think I got the gist of the question. It's okay. The hamster's a trooper. Don't want to put him down. So yeah, keep the good work, hamster. But as for the question, I believe it's something to the effect of
how has the rivalry changed now that you guys are in the same division? How has the dynamic changed? Yeah, how is the dynamic?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess in a certain way it's gotten even more intense because now we play each other a guaranteed 2 times a year, whereas before it was always 1 time a year, and now that can accumulate to 3 times a year. So that only means that we can only accumulate more knowledge about each other's playing styles. So for instance, off of this last game, I'm no longer going to really focus on his running game, which I have the past 2 seasons. Next time we play, if it's in the playoffs, I'm going to be watching out for his passing game, and the plays that I saw tore me up. And I'm also going to be adjusting my passing game accordingly to. Usually I'm a bit more greedy with my passing plays, but since he's so good with his zone blitzes, I'm definitely going to shorten my dropbacks and try to complete shorter passes. So in that way, I guess the chess match just kind of grows exponentially since we keep playing each other more.
Man, that's awesome. You know, when Scotty expressed interest in taking his Dolphins back, I got to admit, there was a part of me that was like, yeah, this is going to be great. You know, because Salty, when the first time that Scotty requested it, didn't want to change it. He said, you know, you pick the Chiefs, you're going to stick with the Chiefs, and that's going to be it. And, you know, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, here's an opportunity to get arguably, but probably, most likely, the 2 best players in our league, at least, like you said, matching up at least twice a year, plus it's his favorite team, so that, to me, it was an easy call. And so I'm glad to see that it's I got to admit, man, I thought for a minute there, I'm like, man, he's got his number, because you hadn't lost to him. And the last time you guys played, I think you beat him handily. So, you know, to see now that the pendulum is swinging back the other way a little bit, I think from the health of our league perspective, I think it's great. I think it's great that you guys are going back and forth, you know, because obviously it's not going to risk your playoff chances or anything. But the fact that you guys are doing battle the way you are, I think it's awesome. I think it's probably the most fun rivalry we have going on right now. It's certainly the most competitive.
Nah, I gotta say, Josh Norman and Alan Murphy's rivalry easily surpasses us. You know, this is a
but
league.
they just talk junk. Neither one of those guys are any good.
That's important. This is a video game. I mean, it's all about entertainment. You know, that's why. You know, I keep hearing. I know I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like, for example, like the team selection issue. Like, people say, oh, you know, God, I understand you guys enjoy, you know, picking your team, but I don't feel like you have to choose your team to validate your fanhood. You just do whatever is the most fun, because it's a video game. So I have to say, Alan Murphy and Josh Norman's rivalry far surpasses ours. In fact, Alan Murphy and K-Matt, or K-Matt and Josh Norman, like, those rivalries, I think are much more fun than Scotty and my rivalries, because, you know, I think, to be quite frank, Scotty and I are a lot more boring. You know, we just say, oh, good game, nice scheme, job, boring, you know. So props to Josh, props to Alan for being much better entertainers, and that's what the game's really all about.
That's true. Well, and like we've talked about earlier, I mean, that's we don't strive to have the most competitive, or we strive for competitive gameplay. We don't strive to have the best Madden players, but we do strive to have a good community. And you're right, that having those fun rivalries, that crap talking going back and forth between those guys, it is pretty fun. It is pretty fun. I'll give them credit there. But none of them win anything, though. So in the end of it, it is kind of fun to watch you and Scotty go at it, because what you two are, odds are you're going to win something.
No, Norman doesn't win anything. I have my ring.
There you go.
Speaking of winning something, though, Justin, I have to ask, you're turning into the real Buffalo Bills. When are you going to win a Super Bowl?
Well, I plan on playing 4 seasons, and I plan on going 0-4 out of respect for Hidden Hawks. I'm going to be the most sim Buffalo Bills player in the history of Madden League. And I'm going to send a message to Hidden Hawks. I'm going to say, you, sir, have inspired me. You, sir, have inspired me to take it to the next level of simness, to achieve just the most perfect balance of excellence. Enough excellence to get me to the Super Bowl 4 consecutive times, but just not enough excellence to win any of those. And, you know, I think there's no question that I would be the most sim player in the history of Madden League if I were to achieve such a feat.
Oh, well played, dude. That's awesome.
I do have to say, your Super Bowl against Donald and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might have been the most epic Super Bowl that we have had here in West One. Going into overtime, and just the way the whole thing finished, the comeback that he had, just the whole thing. Like, it was such a great Super Bowl. I guess I don't really have a question, but I'm just here to say that you were already part of one of the probably the best Super Bowl we've had here in this league.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. We can consider that the New York Giants Buffalo Bills Super Bowl with the wide right instead of having a wide right, it would be like the botched failure to stop that 2-point conversion when my middle linebacker was right there. And then so I guess you can expect the next Super Bowl to be Cowboys-Bills kind of blowout where I guess whoever I'm playing against gets a pick six and I try to chase them down and I get a fumble near the end zone as some kind of consolation for my blowout. So expect that in about 2 weeks.
You get your
Great.
Leon
Is that
Lett
not
and-
just scream Josh Norman? Great. We're doomed.
You get your Leon Lett and Don Beebe going on. Fantastic. Well, Justin, thank you so much for joining us here on West One. We've got a few more scores. We're going to wrap up and then call it a night. So thanks again for that. Appreciate you coming on fresh after a tough loss like that. Man, that's awesome. Your willingness to come on here and do that and talk a little bit about it and about the league. And so thanks for all you do, man. Great member, great owner here with us, and we appreciate you being a part of it.
Yeah, no probs. Take it easy, and I'll be listening in on the rest of the scores.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Justin.
Good, Justin.
All right, there you have it. Auden, you have our, one of our reigning studs, our Madden studs here in the league. I thought that was interesting what he had to say about he's more into the entertainment rivalries, the junk talking that goes back and forth. Yeah, that's interesting perspective, and glad to hear it. So, all right, let's go ahead and finish up these last few, and then we got a boogie. It's getting late, and I got to play Shazani. We've gone over an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes here on West One. Cardinals, Eagles, Allen. Cardinals have one of the more dynamic rookies we have seen yet. Cardinals win 42-3 over Dave Stacy-led Eagles. Decatur Hanna, wide receiver for the Cardinals, Auden, 7 receptions, 237 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Well, I guess I know who to key in on tonight when I play RJ. Not only that, but that's still on top of another 102 and a touchdown from John Brown. Decatur Hanna went off and made John Brown's game look pedestrian. 393 from Logan Thomas, 5 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, good ratio there. And we have on Philadelphia's side, we got Nick Foles getting back to what he did early in this cycle, 144 yards, 3 interceptions, very far below 50%, and only 11 rushes from Matthew Tucker and only 46 yards. So we got to get the Eagles back to what they were doing in Week 17 last year.
Auden, you know me, I'm a rock and roll guy. I'm not too much into hip hop. I'm more an old school. If the hip hop I do enjoy is older stuff, but I'm gonna take my best shot at this. You ready? You ready for me to add some flavor to West One Radio? You ready?
I don't know if I'm ready for this or not.
The Texans, Auden, had 19 players with a tackle, but Watt ain't one. Or I should have said Watt had one.
What our show has come to. I think we were doing better with the poop story.
I got more. You want to know? If we weren't short on time, I'd tell you another poo story. 19 players had a tackle in this game, Allen, and J.J. Watt had a tackle. That's his stat line. Tackle. Not necessarily what you want to see out of one of the more dominant ends in Madden. Texans go down 16-13 to the Tennessee Titans.
Well, let's get it together, Lyndon. That's not very sim for Watt to only have 1 tackle. But your Tennessee Titans just win 2 straight games? They might be onto something here. 317 yards passing from Nolan Phillip, although there were 2 touchdowns. Not much from the rushing game. Kyrie Robinson had 26 yards and a touchdown, but Kendall Wright, 9 receptions and 163 yards. Looks like he was the difference maker here as the Titans beat the Houston Texans. Houston started off on a strong roll this year, but now they're down to 7-5 on that bubble.
Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them, are the Tigers. We are the Tigers. Mighty, mighty Tigers. Mighty, mighty Tigers.
Congratulations to those mighty Titans as they win 2 in a row. All right. Well, speaking of sound bites, next up, the Raiders, the Broncos. Somebody, Auden, threw for 393 yards and 2 touchdowns. It wasn't the team that won, which was my Oakland Raiders, 31-23. It was the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Auden, do you know who the quarterback is for the Denver Broncos?
Brock!
I'm sorry, you broke up. Your internet must be funky again. Who is it?
I think you lost.
Auden, are you there? Oh, we've lost you. Okay. Well, I'll tell you who the quarterback is for the Denver Broncos. Last name, Osweiler. First name, Brock.
And I am here tonight as the representative for Brock, the conqueror himself, my client, Brock. Just suffered from Brock. Brock. You can't beat Brock. Best friend in the world. Brock. I got 2 words
for you.
Brock. Brock.
Brock Osweiler. 393 yards, 2 touchdowns. Raiders win despite out in the last game. Redskins, Giants. I got zeros. I printed my sheet before the game came in. I think Caruso won, no? Giants win? Do you have any sound? Yeah. Okay, there we go. Give a thumbs up. There we go. Strong thumbs up to the crowd. All right, well, that brings us to our last segment of the night, which is, of course, Auden's Audible. But apparently, you can't audible when you can't talk. So Auden will do his best Chip Kelly impressions and hold up pictures of Charlie Sheen and scissors and, you know, I don't know, cans of whipped cream, whatever Chip Kelly does and his sign, Jim Rome, you know, he'll hold it. That'll be his Audible for the night. So Auden, thank you for your contribution to tonight's show. I appreciate you joining us here in the Dago Dungeon and being part of WestOne Radio. Gosh, I would ask you what your final thoughts are, but once again, unless you know sign language, then we're going to have trouble communicating those. What has he got? He's got a sign that says, what, Bass Pro Shops? I want to see, what is this? No. Oh, it's a San Francisco 49ers license plate. Thank you. That's great. And, yes, and we see your picture of Bill Walsh and Steve Young behind you, so, yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. Guys, thanks for those of you that joined us here tonight on the show. Appreciate for everyone listening live on the Google Hangout. You can catch this on the YouTube. On the YouTube, I sound like an old man. You can catch this on the YouTube afterwards. And thank you to Justin for coming in and joining us here live on the show. So thanks to all of you. You guys rock. You guys get your games in early. Everybody's cool. This is just it's a lovely place for a Madden experience, if you ask me. So continue to whatever, do what you do, man. It's great. Let Auden know if you got anything that you wanna have reviewed gameplay wise or any other complaint wise. And so thank you to you. Thank you to Auden. And there you go. Oh, I guess I better find my outro music here. Let's see. Where did it go? And here we go. This is such a professional show. One of these days, I'm going to get a producer.